always played a lot of sports. From cheerleading to swimming to baseball to basketball, they always have been and continue to be a huge part of my life. This is thanks to my parents who, since I was very young, put me in basically every sport imaginable. But I'm thankful for it, and I think it shows because to this day in our house, sports are part of daily life. And when you have 3 siblings, your parents often try to see if they can have more than one child playing on the same teams. Which often meant that my brother, who is 1 year younger than me, and I played together on the same teams. Some people find this strange, but I'm not sure why. When I run track or swim, I train with boys and girls. So why should baseball or basketball be any different? All kids care about is if you can play. If you're good, a hard worker, and willing to be competitive, boys will play against you just like any other guy. In over 10 years of playing sports, I've never felt that a boy didn't want to play with me or against me because of my gender.
There probably is a crazy sports parent talk in here somewhere about my wife and I. We've been driving and coaching and cheering from the sidelines as our 4 kids have been growing up. And we never really thought of this notion of gender as being important. We were just trying to get our kids in a range of activities. And we've been really surprised by how it seems to have struck other parents really differently. Parents do seem to get all caught up in gender. I grew up in a house with just brothers, and during all of our sports experiences, I don't think we ever had a time where we had girls on our teams. But actually, things have changed. And it was probably not right then, and it's definitely not right now. They were not finding ways for girls and boys to be playing together in almost all activities. There seems to be this notion that we're protecting both boys and girls, but I'm not really sure what exactly it is we're protecting them from, and then also at what cost are we doing it. It's interesting to see the reactions of other parents as our kids have been playing, as our kids are playing sports, and especially watching Liz play with her younger brother. This is no great, bold political statement we were trying to make as Elizabeth went and played with her brother who was a year younger. As all of you know, often sports are arranged in these 2-year brackets. And as she said, it was really out of convenience that we ended up having our son and our daughter play sports together. But hearing some of the comments were really surprising. There are those who said, wow, what a bold, powerful statement you're making, having your daughter play with a boys' team. I actually never really understood that. Sports are just about kids having fun. It wasn't like we were trying to create any political statement by what we were doing. But more concerning were some of the other comments that I heard from parents. Those comments like, I'm really worried the girls are going to get hurt if they play with the boys. As though somehow a 5-year-old girl's body is far more breakable than a 5-year-old boy's body. Or comments like, I think it's great what's happening, but I'm kind of worried about what some of the other parents might be thinking. Or I do remember one in particular who said, this is just outrageous. This is such discrimination against all those boys by allowing a girl to play on the team. And those are just a sampling, and I have to tell you, those actually aren't the worst comments. The worst comments are those kind of comments that I know in some circles get dismissed as locker room talk, but are things that were never in vogue 30 or 40 years ago, and the things that actually shouldn't be said or thought about today. It's clear that parents, and to be fair, both dads and moms, are carrying over some of their views of growing up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and their experiences in playing sports, and they're carrying them over into their adulthood and to being parents today.
Just this past spring, an all-girls soccer team from Spain with players around 13 years old won a 14-team boys' league. When the idea came around for this girls' team to play in this league, the girls' parents were a little skeptical. They were worried that their girls might get hurt by the boys. The girls knew that wasn't true. They convinced them otherwise. So they went ahead and played in the league, and they received a lot of criticism from the coaches of the other teams, the referees, and the boys' parents. There was one group that didn't really seem to care, and that was the boys they were playing against. The boys knew they were getting good games against a really good team, and most importantly, everyone was having fun. And yes, of course, we still need girls-only sports. We have particular issues with girls getting and staying active, and sometimes single-gendered opportunities can make them feel safe. That's why we should have co-ed and girls only. At young ages, girls can be, and are, just as competitive as boys. So there might be the odd sport exception, but I'm not sure why we need any boys' sports. And when it comes to organizing teams, there are so many other ways to do it than by gender. At young ages, the girls often and almost always are just as big and strong as boys of the same age. So why not sort by size? How about skills so that everyone, regardless of gender, is appropriately challenged? What about age, what school they go to, or who their friends are? Why do we always jump to sorting by gender when there are so many other options we could explore? In sports like swimming and track, there are ways we can integrate more mixed gender relays that promote gender integration by having girls and boys competing together.
We have come a long way recently. In the last generation, our thinking of girls were to grow up and become nurses, and boys were to grow up to become the doctors. We've shifted thinking from the idea that men were the ones who worked outside the home, and women were the ones whose responsibility was to take care of the home. And then in more recent years, we've had dramatic shifts in views from homosexuality to more recently transgendered persons that has shifted our thinking from everything from bathrooms to marriage. But we're still holding on to some very dated views on some aspects when it comes to gender. And the argument isn't that we should never think about gender when it comes to sports. Absolutely, by the time kids hit puberty, we do need to be more thoughtful about how we organize boys and girls. But until about the age of 12, it's hard to find many examples of where we shouldn't allow boys and girls to be playing together. It's hard to argue that 5- and 6-year-olds shouldn't share the same soccer field, hockey rink, or basketball court. The only reason that we continue to do this is because we've always done it this way. And so we need to take that on, because there are far better ways to begin to think about how we organize. Sports have the ability to send powerful, strong messages. And that powerful, strong message that we want to be sent is not that a girl playing on a boys' sports team is some bold, political, powerful statement. What we want the message to be is, well, that's just the norm. That's just how we do things. And while we're at it, while we do some of this, we'll begin to tackle some of the really clear sexism that still exists everywhere from amateur to professional sports. If we can remove gender tags from sports at a young age, that's at least a ripple in what is still something that we rarely talk about, and we still hold views from 20, 30, 40, or 100 years ago in many ways when we think about sports.
I'm happy to play like a girl, and I will do it proudly. What was seen as an insult when my mom was growing up is now often a compliment. It is proof that our world is changing for the better, and youth sports can help speed up that process. When I'm told I throw like a girl, or run like a girl, or play like a girl, I say thank you. What if instead of boys soccer, boys hockey, and boys baseball, we just had soccer, hockey, and baseball? Since when does the gender define the sport? This could have a huge impact beyond just these sports. Moms, dads, if you run leagues or organize teams, listen to your sons. They don't care that I'm a girl. Like me, your sons just want to play the sport they love. Everyone wants to get better and have a lot of fun in the process. So let's get on with it. Thank you.